So I got a crazy story about I got a crazy stock story. So I've been getting a little more active on Instagram in terms of like me giving like, because I have people come to me all the time, like they're like, hey, you're like my age, what are you doing financially? Because like I don't have any debt.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm doing pretty well for myself right now. So I've started investing in the stock market, and people are asking me questions about that. And you know, the market's been all over the place recently. It's been up, it's been down a lot. And I think it went down significantly the other day. It dropped like it's like 400 points or something like that.
I think it's rallying big today.
I think so. Yeah, I haven't checked it today.
Pull it up.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I have it right here. This is for the topic, but I can pull up the Dow. Hold on. Yeah, it's doing okay. It's sort of like more of like a plateau.
So up 500.
Yeah, up 500 from when it opened, which is good. That's really good. But it looks like it went up 500 at the beginning of the day, and then it sort of plateaued and starting to drop off, kind of. It'll be in the green by the end of the day.
Well, let's hope.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it closes at 4, so and then I think results for polling start at like they end at 7, and that's when we start getting results.
Well, the coverage is starting here soon, but
yeah,
the pollings will close at 7.
Yeah, and that's when we'll start knowing like the numbers from the actual pollings and not the mail-ins.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be affected today. It might be affected tomorrow.
Yeah.
But for today, it's fine. But anyways, so I was someone came to me and they were like, "Dude, I just sold all my stocks in the market," and I'm like, "Why?"
I did.
But I asked them, I was like, why? I was like, what were you invested in? I was like, why? And they were saying like, I was invested in Amazon, I was invested in Microsoft, I was invested in this, that, and the other. It's
so
like it was like Fortune 500 companies. Yeah. And I'm like, why did you sell? Why didn't you buy more? I was like, you should never sell in a dip. If you're okay, I take it back. For me personally, if I'm invested in a Fortune 500 company, I will not sell in a dip. As a matter of fact, I'll buy more.
Do we call what we're in right now a dip, or do we call what we're right now a peak? I mean, what's your take on that? Like, I feel like if anything, this is like the turmoil that's happening within a peak that could tank real quick.
Okay, so I consider what we're in right now a dip. Okay. Well, okay, sort of, kind of. It's rallied back since when COVID first happened. The markets crashed. Yeah. That was the dip. Yeah. That was when you were supposed to buy. It was in March.
That was the dip.
It's starting to rally back now, but it's like every day it's changing drastically. It's not like.
But we were down to 20K, right? 22K.
Something like that.
So
it was well in the Dow.
Yeah.
It was actually we can look at it.
Yeah, go to year to date on the Dow.
I have the 1 year. Let me open up full screen so that way I can see it better. Where was March? March is back here.
Wait, I think you're back in like 2010.
Oh wait, why? Yeah. Okay, so here's the year outlook. So it was at 18.5.
Ooh, I got in on the blue chip stuff at like 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so I rode Apple and Caterpillar and 3M and I even got into Tesla at some point. You know, I lost a little bit on Nikola, as you know.
That's
so.
That's understandable. That was sort of out of the blue. Like we didn't know there's no way you could have predicted that would happen,
right?
Unless you had some inside information, which in which case is illegal.
What a pump and dump that was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, well, I don't. It was a pump and dump to an extent. I think for Nikola in particular, people saw what they were offering and they bought it, and then stories came out. And then they were like, "Oh, got to get rid of it."
And then when dude left the company, I was done. I was like, I was gonna ride that ship into the ground.
Yeah.
But dude bailed. You know, dude was like, "All right, I'm done. I can't handle it anymore." So once he did that, I was out.
Yeah, a pump and dump to me is when a company does a stock split. People buy in and then they'll sell like a week later because they're just like, "Oh, it got really cheap. Everyone's gonna be buying it because it got really cheap." They buy it up, they ride the wave up, and then it drops off and it becomes a whole hassle.
Yeah.
For the people that bought in like at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But so for me, so he told me that he sold all of his stocks. I'm not gonna say his name,
Sure.
but he told me that he sold all of his stocks. And I'm like, why? I was like, you're invested in Fortune 500 companies, so you're not doing anything crazy. And I was like, and it's gonna go up eventually, regardless. I mean, like in the next 4 years, it'll go up. I don't know by how much, but those stocks would always go up, unless they did a split unless they did a split and then the split didn't do well, or the company like filed Chapter 11 or something like that. I couldn't understand. And he was like, oh, I sold it all because it was starting to dip and I was getting scared. And I'm like, you should never sell when you're scared. And then he was like, and then I went and invested in Delta. And I was like, why? Why would you go and invest in Delta? Delta airline companies are probably one of the worst investments that you can make, especially right now. So I actually made some points because this was all the stuff that I explained to him. So here's the first point. So the people that are on the board for these giant commercial airline companies, they do stock buybacks. And for people that don't know what stock buybacks are, that's where the company goes in and buys back their stocks to decrease the volume on the market. And then when they do that, the price goes up because there's less volume, so supply and demand. And then it makes the stock more appealing to investors, and then investors will go and buy the stock. And then they'll sell it, and then they'll make money off of it. And then they'll do it again. So I'll pull up Delta.
Apple's been one of the best companies ever to do that strategy.
They're not doing it as frequently, though.
Right.
And they also are providing a product that's always changing and always getting better. Yeah. Airlines, they change every so often. Yeah. It's not a consistently changing thing, or something that.
Was it you that showed me the meme of the person that bought an Apple phone in 2017 versus somebody that invested $1,000 in Apple stock in 2017?
Maybe I might have posted something like that on my story.
Yeah. So if you bought an iPhone for $1,000 in 2017, it's now worth $450. And if you bought Apple stock for $1,000 in 2017, it's now worth $3,700. So you got 3 new iPhones if you bought stock in Apple for $1,000 in 2017. Now you can go get 3 different types of phones.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then you could go and buy 3 phones, and then you can sell those 2 phones.
Yeah.
Boom, there you go. And then you take that money, reinvest it back, and you just do it over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, Apple's definitely...
That's a long process.
So the reason why I sold, let me tell you the reason why I sold. I went to zero on all that because I went from 19,000 to 27,000, and we're coming up on what we're coming up on here. So who knows? So I went ahead and just cashed all the way out. Plus I need money for all this. Right. So I took that and put it into all of this and payroll and secured the business. But when I get healthy again, if it does go down again, I'm ready to roll right back into those same companies to ride that wave back up.
Yeah.
Because the reason why you get into the stock market like that, correct me if I'm wrong, is because you believe in America. You believe in the companies that are traded on in this country. Mm-hmm. So and that really is how most people after real estate are generating lifetimes worth of wealth.
Yeah.
Right?
That's I've always looked at the stock market as a I guess sort of like a retirement fund / like high interest savings account. Yeah. As long as you're not being stupid and then buying like these like penny stocks and then it's like, oh, that's my investment. But that's so I always look at the 5-year outlook of everything. That's actually what we're looking at right now is for Delta Airlines. Right. See all this up and down. That's their board members pumping and dumping and investors getting on board and dumping again. So it's like they're doing all this and see this giant dip right here. That's obviously that's COVID, that can't be helped. But I mean,
do you think the American government is going to let Delta or American or Southwest or any of these companies actually go under? Like, don't you think that they're going to inject taxpayer money into these companies?
Yeah. Okay. So that's actually one of the other problems that I have with these kind of companies, and it's the same thing with the automotive industry. It's like they can't fall apart. They can't file for bankruptcy because if they do, then transportation halts in America, which sucks because it's one of those things that wasn't essential when like America first started, but because we are so reliant on it now, it's very essential to keep those businesses alive. So, but it's the fact that they manage their money poorly and then have to take these like buyouts from the government, right? So if you look at these. Let's take Apple, for example. Apple has a $200 billion savings account. They have $200 billion in savings.
In cash.
Yeah. That if anything happened, that's the money that they start pumping back into their business. And it just sits there. I don't know if it gains interest or whatever. I mean, that'd be insane.
I'm sure it does.
I'm sure it does. And I'm sure it's insane the amount of return that they get back on that. But it's like, but these companies, they didn't do that. They just were investing in themselves, like the board members. Like they were investing back in themselves, not themselves as in the company. They were investing in themselves as individuals, trying to make themselves richer, which is fine to an extent until you get into a situation like this. It's like, they're playing the game, they're getting richer, and that's just the way things are. It's when the fact that when the government gives them money and then they use that money for themselves and then are asking for second handouts, because the airline industry is coming back and are like, we need more stimulus because we ran out and we furloughed all these people. So all the money that they've used to like buy back stocks for themselves could have been used to.
That should have been a rule that they could not use any of that money, and I thought that was a rule that they couldn't use any of these bailout funds to supply a surge into their stock price. That should definitely be should have definitely been regulated.
I don't know what they're doing with it. I haven't looked like super in depth of like what they're using it for, but I think let's see. I think it was was it this article or was it this one? Yeah, it's like after mismanaging companies with stock buybacks and lucrative CEO packages, airlines are demanding another $25 billion from taxpayers.
So that's criminal.
No, I 100% agree.
When someone gets taxpayer funds to remain solvent in their business and they pump their stock up with those funds by buybacks.
No. The problem was it wasn't the fact that they were pumping their stocks back up. It's they didn't have money set aside because they were pumping their stocks up before this, and then they were using all that money to like bail themselves out. Is what they were using it for, and they ran out because they didn't have anything saved up that they needed, and now they're asking for more money.
Okay,
it's this snowball effect that has happened in the airline industry that just is a catastrophe.
Sounds like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Yeah. But so another thing for me is I don't invest in companies like this that had to take bailouts, because if they had to take a bailout now, what's to say that another pandemic was to happen and they need another one, and then the stocks plummet, and then your investments go to shit, basically. So it's between that, the stock prices fluctuate too much, and air travel it's taken a physical toll and a mental toll on America, and it's going to be a long time before air travel returns to what it was before, because people aren't just going to feel comfortable going on vacation. They're just going to use it for business.
I mean,
for the most part.
Honestly, I'm torn because Remax has a convention every year in Las Vegas at the end of February, and I want to go. I love that convention. I love Las Vegas, but am I comfortable enough to do that? Am I confident enough to do that? I don't know that I am.
Yeah, and see, that's exactly the problem with like someone coming to me and being like, you need to buy a Delta Airlines stock. I'm like, no, I'm not.
When the consumer feels, the majority of the consumers, I think, would feel the way I feel.
Yeah. Well, he was trying to bring up the point. It's like it's down really low right now, and then it's going to come back.
If you feel like the government is going to keep propping them up and give them the time that they need to be solvent, then he might be right. He's getting it at a big discount. I mean, he's getting stuff, but I like your strategy.
Yeah.
Is I don't want to invest my money into somebody that can't remain solvent unless it's through the taxpayers.
Yeah.
I don't want to invest with that.
I always make my investments based on, and it's something that Jeff Bezos said that I really resonated with. He said that he doesn't make any investments based on something that he doesn't believe in. Yeah. He only does it on things like for me, I'm only invested in companies. I'm invested in like Tesla. I'm invested in Apple. I'm invested in a few other companies that are making good products, and they're trying to make changes in the world.
I think, Shaq quoted him really good, Shaquille O'Neal. He said he was told by Jeff Bezos that don't invest in anything that you don't think is going to change people's lives.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when he did that, Shaq said he quadrupled his net worth. When he started putting money into things that he knew was going to change people's lives, his portfolio quadrupled.
Yeah, and it's because other people think exactly the same way. And usually the people that think the same way are usually those deeper pocket people. Yeah. There are some people that aren't that rich that would think the same way. But like when it comes to investments, that's how to look at it. But it's just, I don't know. I just couldn't believe that someone was like, I sold my Fortune 500 company stocks that are bound to go up all the time.
If he didn't have any other thing to do with the money, then he made a mistake probably, because he should have wrote it out and bought. If he had more liquid funds, he should have just bought more at discounts if the discounts happened. If he didn't need the money right away.
Yeah.
Now, if he needed the money right away, like in my case, like I wanted to make investments in other things and people, and I just wanted to make sure that my financials was secure and wasn't tied up, and that I was liquid.
Yeah.
That's a different story. But if you're just removing your money from the market because you think it's about to go down, you should be like this if you think it's going to go down, with the positions that you hold, getting in at a better rate than what you purchased before.
Yeah,
if you don't need that.
Exactly, because then you sort of offset the loss of that stock, and then it's going to go back up anyways because you've already invested in it. So that obviously means that you believe in it.
You should believe in everything that you're in anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here, Sky, don't show this, but I'm going to show you one of the companies that I'm invested in, and I'll show you why I use this as sort of like a, let's see. There they are, these people. This is, you can see why they did a stock split, by the way. That's why it's so low. But let's look at the 5-year. See the 5-year outlook on this stock? I saw that they were going to do a stock split, so I immediately bought in. So now I have more shares of this stock than I originally had. And look at that 5-year chart. That is a high interest savings account looking chart to me. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So this company, they invest in commercial solar panels. They do it in Florida. So I was like, well, because they're trying to commercialize it, and then when you commercialize it, it makes it cheaper for the public.
Right.
So you can see how it's like all up and down, and that's at the end because they just split and people are like buying it up and selling it. And,
Gotcha.
and then that's the COVID tick right there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna start calling it, the COVID tick.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So.
That's a good word.
Yeah, but so that's what I chose. And he was telling me, he's like, no, you shouldn't invest in a company like that. And I'm like, dude, so it's like I'm doing really well for myself stock wise. My stocks have like surpassed my savings account that's just sitting in the bank. So I'm just like, you know what, man, you do you, I'll do me.
I think
I'm just letting people know that if they want to get invested in an commercial airline company, these are the things that they're doing. They're taking bailouts. They're pumping their stocks to make it look nicer.
It's good. It's a good word to get out. You need to be mindful of where your money's going and your perspective. I think use this to put your perspective out there. I think it's a valid perspective.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm like the overarching authority on this because there are some people that are way better at stock investing than I am. I'm just saying morally and strategically, this is how I think.
I like your take on it. I would think that that's a logical standpoint. That's a logical view on it. As somebody that's putting their money in a company that has obviously shown that they have a major threat when it comes to the health and safety, or like pandemic type stuff, and need big bailouts from taxpayers, that's hard to put money into.
It's the same reason that I wouldn't invest in like General Motors or Chrysler. It's because they took a bailout in 2008 during the recession. But like I would invest in Ford. They didn't take a bailout, and then Tesla I'm investing.
Well, here's the thing.
But they're kind of the newer.
Here's what I have a problem with is, GM taking a bailout and then still wanting to leave the country.
Yeah.
I still wanting to remove themselves and go to Mexico and that type of stuff. So I have a big moral stance against anybody that wants to do that.
Yeah, they were going to take the money and run, basically.
Yep.
They're thieves.
Yep.